David Sunday night background.
Yo, hey guys. I got me
Hey,
and my friends. Wait, somebody just dropped out. Oh, no one dropped out. Okay, anyways. Okay, fuck it. We use that as an intro, spontaneous intro. About Game of Thrones. I got my friends here to join me for my podcast. Thank you, friends. Thanks. I got Laura. Hi, Laura.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you. I got Oscar, big Game of Thrones fan here since the book days. Hi, Oscar.
Hey, Peter. Thanks for having me on here to hate on the show.
Yes, don't worry. I'm going to be on your side as well. And I got Bernard, the guy who I used to watch Game of Thrones with in college together.
Yeah, missed those times, Peter. Wish we could do it again.
Remember, like when I used to have that TV and we used to just sit down and watch it late at night.
Yeah, I remember you had your that rockabye chair.
Yeah, the rockabye chair. We'll swap every episode. Like, sometimes I'll sit there and you sit on the bed and we'll swap. That was cool.
Yeah, it was very,
So
very.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cute, guys.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I feel so, yeah.
All the lights were out.
Good old days. But anyways, we're here to talk about how, our thoughts and feelings with Game of Thrones just finishing. All of us have been following this show for about, I think, 10 years of our lives. I mean, those people who watched it from the start. So, okay, let's just skip straight away to how it finished. What do you think of season 8? Let's go with Laura first. Ladies first.
All right. I think it's hard to know what I would think of season 8 if the publicity wasn't so negative. I don't think I would have been nearly as disappointed if the response hadn't been so negative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so do you think you were reinforced to think that it was going to be bad, so it's worse than...
Yeah. Even up until episode 3 or 4, I was really enjoying it, and I don't think I would have had big criticisms. But every Tuesday morning chats with friends and other people who've seen it were all pretty critical, and that sort of changed my mindset a little bit.
Yeah, I think this was the season where everyone was complaining ever since episode came out. You know how the previous season, episode 1 is oh guys, we're building up to a big battle scene, so it's okay if it's slow. But this season, after the first episode, oh my god, this shit's so trash. I how it felt.
Yeah, it was weirdly critical compared to the other seasons.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's also because it's the last one, right? The last one.
Yeah. Got hyped up.
What about you, Oski?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I kind of think season 6 and 7 had been pretty average leading up to 8. But, I mean, there had been quite a lot of bad publicity about season 7, but I still thought it was okay. And season 6, in my eyes, kind of redeemed itself after a pretty average start with the final couple of episodes. And that last episode, I'm pretty sure it's the last episode of season 6 when Cersei blows up the Sept of Baelor and RL equals J is confirmed, and Jon's made king in the north. I'm pretty sure that's season 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Well, that was one of the best episodes of the season after a pretty average season. But with this season, I don't know, it just felt like everything was building up more and more to this rushed, hasty conclusion that they just had to get to and tie everything together. And I mean, the publicity, I see what you mean, that kind of definitely would have influenced me. But I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I thought they were pretty good, even though they kind of were just filler. They were still entertaining, and the second episode especially, just all those people, all the sort of side characters sitting around the fire. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last 3 episodes just really completely ruined it for me.
Too rushed.
Yeah. And just, yeah. So, I mean, I probably would give the last season, the start of it, I really liked it. But then after that, it was just a dive off a cliff.
Yeah.
What about you, Bernard?
Well, yeah, I feel like we all sort of saw it coming as well with the last couple of episodes, because there were only 6 episodes in this season, which is everyone already, I think before going into the season, everyone already knew there's only so much they can do with 6 episodes, and they're 1.5 hours each. So if you look at the time, then like they're definitely gonna have to rush through everything.
Yeah.
So I sort of had that in mind before watching it. So my hopes weren't like super high for this season.
Yeah.
But I agree with Oscar. I feel like I agree with Laura as well. How like people just gave it a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
When it actually wasn't that bad. I think people were just expecting too much. Also, I find a lot of people have never watched Game of Thrones before. They only started watching it after the season came out. So they would have binged.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, binged like seasons 1 to 7, like, oh, fuck, so good. And then come to the last season and they're just like, oh, what? This is like super underwhelming.
True. No. I think all your sentiments are all the public. Like it's all very like in tune with what all the public is thinking about like this show. I get. Yeah, but like, what do you think? Do you think it should have been longer? Would you prefer it if the season was like longer, or would you have preferred like more episodes basically if they had more time to execute these things, or do you all just think the plot was just trash anyways? We can go like whoever wants to speak out. Like Laura, okay, Laura.
Yeah, I think that last episode could have been a few episodes. Like a lot happened very quickly.
Yeah, very abrupt.
I don't know. Yeah, and it felt like some of the conversations were just so long. Like when Jon's talking to Tyrion in the prison.
Yeah.
Like that was a long conversation. I'm like, there's stuff to get to. Let's cut away. I don't know why it was like strange things were emphasized, I thought.
I think I also read somewhere that the finale had 17 minutes of dialogue and then like 57 minutes of no dialogue. So it's weird that they can somehow make a scene like that feel long in an episode where there's no talking. And I mean, like that scene in itself, I thought was like probably one of the worst scenes in the whole season. And maybe that's why it felt so long. Is because like it was literally just Tyrion telling us what we should think about Daenerys. Like, and like literally like almost like the writers putting themselves into Tyrion's mouth and telling us what we were supposed to be feeling right now because they hadn't done a good enough job of making us actually feel that.
It feels like as if like a TV show is about to end and they try to end it really quick, so they cheat, right? So they go, so this is gonna happen.
It's like cheating,
Yeah. I mean, I think they could have. Oh, sorry, Laura. You go. Keep going. Well, I was going to say, I think they could have actually extended the last season out into like 2 or even 3 seasons. Like, I'm imagining that in the books, there's probably going to be. It won't just be like one battle outside Winterfell with the White Walkers. It'll be like a war, and that probably could have been this season, just them fighting the White Walkers. Like, I mean, to have that just ended in one episode seems so weird, and I cannot imagine anything that quickly, coming to a conclusion that quickly at all in the books.
That was a big disappointment. I think that battle with the Night King.
I understand. For me, like after, I think my sentiment is very similar to all of yous. Like during, like when I first watched the final episode, but after a week of thinking about it, because I'm a bit different in the sense where like I was like ready for it to end, and plot wise, I'm okay with it plot wise, but I'm just not okay with the execution. I think we're all in agreement that the story was like rushed. Like a lot of characters didn't get their befitting ending or a befitting finish. A tie off in this, whether it be Daenerys or like a lot of people say Daenerys go batshit crazy in like 3 episodes. Like, how can Jon fall in love with his aunt like at the last episode or something, and is just so crazy in love that he throws away all his old character development from the previous seasons and so on. So like, and I think it all comes down to this, is that the creators of the show, because before, like from season 1 to 4, they can base it off a book that's like, written in detail exactly how all of these characters feel. So it's just basically like sketching a already drawn picture, right? Like in using pencil or something and just like copying something that's already been drawn. Whereas the last few seasons, where it's based off like just consultations with George R.R. Martin, like not a full detailed manuscript, It's more of like, okay, this is going to happen here, this is going to happen here, this is going to happen here. Fill in the blanks. So I think where these creators struggle they struggle with original content, right? They essentially struggle. They're good at presenting something that's already been written a specific way. But when it comes to filling in the blanks using your own creativity, I think that's where they struggle very poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally, I didn't have a problem with the speed with which Dany deteriorated into madness. I think it probably, and plus she'd shown signs of heading that way, I think. And I don't think it's I didn't have a problem with her like plunge into sudden madness.
Yeah, me neither. I really enjoyed that episode actually, when she burned whole of King's Landing.
That was
King's
crazy.
Landing.
Yeah,
that was hard to watch.
I think that sort of comes back to I think everything that did happen could have been done really well if it was done properly. And like I didn't really like how quickly she went mad, but I feel like that could have been done well if it was done properly.
Right.
Yeah, it just felt.
How do you think
Sorry?
how do you feel it sort of should have been done like properly, like more episodes or?
Yeah, and I mean more reasoning behind it. Like it kind of, maybe if Rhaegal had have died there, like in King's Landing, say she had have destroyed most of the ballista things, and then there was like one left that just killed Rhaegal with like a stray shot or whatever.
Yeah,
but that would have made sense. But it just sort of seemed like they chose, like it was almost like the bells that presented it like the bells had driven her insane. Yeah. And that was something that there were actually some leaks that came out that all these people on Reddit were like talking about the leaks, and everyone was like, surely that can't be true because it's so bad. Like surely, and then it's like people were talking as the episode was airing, like, oh god, they keep mentioning bells. Like it's definitely going to be that. Like Tyrion said bells like 7 times in the first 20 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
The leaks were dropped on Reddit, the Free Folk Reddit, which is like basically the Game of Thrones Reddit, 11 months ago by some guy. I can't remember his name. I can't quote it, but like I'll put his name here in the link later or something. But basically, the guy got put in episode 4, 5, and 6 in detailed. No, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in detail 11 months ago, and so basically, a lot of people once episode 3 and 4 commenced, right? The bookies' favorite for who's going to take the Iron Throne straight away corrected itself. Bran. That was like I thought that was fucked. I didn't really. I read the final spoilers right before episode 6, but this was because we were making bets with our colleagues in our workplace, and one of the guys actually read spoilers before and made a bet for him. So I managed to shut down the betting for the throne because it's not in fair spirit. It knew the ending already. But yeah, so kind of spoiled it. I didn't really spoil. I'm not really a spoilers guy. Like you can tell sometimes if I know what's going to happen, I can still be surprised by the way you execute it. But the execution was the way. So I think you can understand, Oscar. You probably can understand that. Are you upset that Bran's king? I'm kind of not upset, but I just kind of upset the way he got there to be king. You know.
I'm exactly the same. Yeah, like I think if it's done properly in the books. And it could have been done better in the show, that it would make sense that Bran became king, but it just seems so inexplicable the way they did it in the show. I mean,
I feel like
just Bran, too quick.
Yeah, he doesn't even do anything the whole season. He just sort of sits there, and he always has these one-liners.
I love the one-liners. It's so funny.
Like, what's this guy thinking all the time? Like, he is the three-eyed raven, but you guys remember, like in the battle with the Night King. He was like, I'll be back or something. And then he
goes, I'm going to go now.
What was he doing?
And then, like, what was he doing? They never explained that.
Well, I mean, like, what was the point of him being the three-eyed raven? Like, what was the point of the Night King?
Was he leading him when he turns into a crow or whatever you call it? Was he leading the Night King to that tree? Because they sort of portray it as if he's just chilling. But I don't know. Maybe that's what he was doing.
Where was the Night King before? Was the Night King on the ice dragon just flying around?
Yeah, he was on ice. Yeah. Bran Stark is a funny dude. Like, he's like the type of guy when he doesn't want to talk to someone because he's disabled, he just go, "I'm gonna go now." Like, just don't want to talk.
I'm going to go now.
Yeah.
You guys seen the meme on Facebook?
There's so many memes, dude.
Yeah.
Which one? Like, what I found funny was, like, in the last episode, like, Tyrion had the nerve, like him being a dwarf, had the nerve to call Bran the Broken. I found
what the hell? That was pretty unnecessary, I thought.
Yeah, like,
did he just come up with that name on the spot? Because he's never been referred
Or had he
to
been workshopping that?
when he was in
just thinking straight away. I would snap back at Tyrion, like, who are you? Broken.
I'm not broken.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Also, King's Landing does not look wheelchair accessible. Like, how is he getting around?
True. If y'all been to Dubrovnik in Croatia, that's where King's Landing is filmed, essentially. Laura is right.
Was it filmed there the whole time? Because I mean, King's Landing completely changed from like the earlier seasons. It had like trees and mountains and shit all around it. Then when they were there in the last season for the siege, like when Daenerys was outside, it was completely flat and there was no vegetation whatsoever. It was just like a bare, barren wasteland.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
has anyone been to Dubrovnik? What does it look like? I've never been there.
I've been there, but like, there's not much green there. It's just like actually, what I think happened was that they used pieces of Dubrovnik to be like the castle walls. But when it came to the rest of the castle, I think they just CGI'd it or filmed different places. I think that's what they did. Because the Dubrovnik castle isn't that big. You know, King's Landing looks huge.
Yeah, it's massive.
Looks like a whole country. So it probably is a whole country. I'm not too sure of that. But yeah, it's huge compared to Dubrovnik's castle.
Yeah. Also, another thing I noticed with like in the last episode with King's Landing is when Daenerys first arrives at King's Landing in the second last episode, it was like really sunny and everything, like how King's Landing normally looks, like just nice weather, blue skies and everything. And then after she burns everything, then it's sort of like snowing. I don't know if it's ashes or it's like ash, snow. It's ash, but then like cut to the last scene when Tyrion comes out, then it's like all sunny again. And it's been
a few weeks. I think he's been in jail for a few weeks.
Yeah, but still, like that's a pretty drastic change.
Yeah,
pretty random, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's not clear. Basically, last episode wasn't clear on a lot of things. People just didn't know where they were because if you think about it, like the episode started off really slow when they were walking through King's Landing. Like, look what the Queen has done. Next minute, you know, there's 5 people telling Jon the same freaking damn thing. Hey, the Queen's crazy. You know, it takes, you know, Varys told him, then her little sister told him, Tyrion told him. It took, like, Sansa told him. You know, it took him a while. Then he stabs her. 5 weeks later, this is what happens. Then 2 weeks later, everyone's freed, everyone goes. And that's how the episode essentially ended, right? The last episode. So,
if it's confusing for people who are actually fans of like Game of Thrones and the books and stuff, imagine how people that like ask who is that 75 times an episode and think Daenerys is called Khaleesi would have found it. Like,
yeah, true. Actually, I'm okay. Any of you unhappy with the way the plot went? The key plot moments. Any of you unhappy, like with who's king, Daenerys died? Any of you unhappy with that?
I find it hard to know if I'm happy or unhappy because of the way it was done. Like for me, it's more about the journey to get to that point. If the story is told well, it doesn't matter quite as much. So it's really hard for me to decide if I am or not.
I don't mind. You know, there's one criticism that's like, oh, what was the point of Jon being a Targaryen? That like, what was the point of Bran being the three-eyed raven? I don't mind that sort of like nothing mattered in the end because I feel like that was a little bit the point, that it was just, you know, things are random. Like Cersei died in a super insignificant way, like because she's just human at the end of the day. So I don't mind that nothing like fit together neatly at the end because I feel like that's sort of the show's thing. But again, the execution just makes it easier to feel like that was lazy and as opposed to an intentional like move.
That would be very George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the goal.
Turns out nothing matters.
Yeah, no, he wanted a bittersweet ending. He wanted some stories to be tied up, but some stories to be left in the air to frustrate people. That's why that was his aim, I think, essentially. But even though, like, you know, sometimes things don't make sense, but you accept it anyway. Sometimes you just want people, you know. But this time I was just like, no, bro, like, this is not it, you know, like. That's what I felt like. I think it was okay. Like, these certain people turned bad, certain people died here, but I just think like the emotional, when it came to the emotional aspect, where you, like, you know, you feel like joy, or like you feel like it wasn't as emotionally intense as previous seasons.
No way.
Yeah, like you just went, like, it was hard to love it, hate it a lot. I mean, like, it was just hard to care for it. You know what I mean? I just couldn't care for it. I just was like, just tell me who's king. Tell me, like,
yeah.
And that's it. Close it up.
We were all, like, I think, bracing ourselves for our favorite characters to die as well. So I think everyone had, like, emotionally prepared themselves for the worst. So nothing was as, like, impactful, maybe.
I think the reason why everyone, like, I mean, why I'm upset, I'm not that upset, but, like, the reason why I'm a little bit upset is for me, at the end of the day, it's always about the characters, right? About character development, the character journey, because that's how I feel, right? When you're telling these stories, it's like the start of a story and to the end of the story. All the start of the story makes sense, but when it came to the end, it didn't make sense. It's like as if it's a new character, right? Like, and my biggest criticism of the last season was the characterization of Jon Snow. Jon Snow has been through a lot of shit, right? Jon Snow started off as a bastard, being hated, but not hated, but not being like 100% liked by everyone in Winterfell, right? They look at him as a bastard. So he was sent to the Night Watch. He heard news that his dad, or, like, you know, so-called, like, who he thought was his dad, was executed. He had to deal. He was sent across the wall to deal with wildlings. Got caught by wildlings. Had to be undercover with the wildlings. Be friends with the wildlings. Had to take the wildlings back to the Night Watch and, like, you know, try to get everyone, you know, to like each other or something. Was made commander of the Night Watch against it. Like, he didn't really want to be there. Then had to go fight, like, all, like, White Walkers and so on. Like, he's been through a lot of shit.
Yeah, and don't forget he died once as well.
Yeah, he even died. Came back from the fucking dead.
But Bran has the best story.
Who?
Bran. Like, you know how Tyrion was like, oh, there's nothing better than a great story. And then, like, no one immediately was like, oh, well, yeah, Jon Snow has literally died and come back to life.
Yeah, exactly. And
he's a prisoner, so they can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
You got to respect the Unsullied's wishes. Set him to the wall.
So,
and then the Unsullied immediately leave.
Yeah.
Why couldn't
we're
Jon
going to
just,
trust
like,
you guys.
We're going to trust you to send this guy to the wall. And, like, his family all said goodbye to him on the docks and just watched him sail away after the Unsullied had literally just left. Couldn't they have just said, oh, yeah, you just go around the corner, man, and then we'll come pick you up?
Couldn't they sneak him back to someone?
Yeah, how could Grey Worm, like, kill all these Lannister troops in the name of Khaleesi? But if someone killed Khaleesi, can't you just, like, you know, kill them back? You know, didn't make sense. So, like, you know, Jon Snow been through all this shit, and when it came to season 8, just when he, like, finds himself, like, a new girl, he says yes to everything a new girl. When he's been standing for the greater good, no matter what, in all these previous seasons, like, his whole like, there was like, you know, a lot of people who disagreed with his take on, like, you know, letting the free folk come through, but he still stood by their side, refused to bend the knee to Daenerys until he found out there was absolutely no chance for his people if he didn't bend the knee. You know, like, he did everything for the greater good. But come season 8, you know, just because, like, Daenerys say so, like, yeah, you're my queen, I'll do everything you say. Like, you know, he followed blind loyalty, which is, like, so not Jon Snow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing with Jon Snow is when you expect him to say something good, like, he has the most dramatic pauses, and he has his expression on his face, and he just goes, "You are my queen," in that same voice every single time. It's like, Jon Snow, you disappoint me once again.
I'm not asking him to be more alpha. This sounds like me being like, "I'll be a man." No, I'm not trying to say that, but I'm
no, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just be like he like I feel like he just doesn't have his own, just doesn't think for himself anymore. He just does whatever Daenerys wants.
Yeah, and he was like a intelligent leader and like, you know, a really like strong leader in the seasons before that, and then he just turns into kind of like a dumbass.
Yeah, exactly. So
I was really angry at him also.
Was that on purpose, or was it just like displayed wrongly by the creators? I think it's the latter. Right? I think the writers just got it wrong with Jon Snow, and they didn't care. They just want to break the rules to reach these certain endings, rather than think of a creative way or to make it more nuanced, right? So I think that was the big reason why I was like ticked off. I think Daenerys, we have seen signs. It was like they used you know what George R. R. Martin's good at? He's good at foreshadowing things. Yeah, there's some red herrings here and there, but you get it, right? You get it when the thing happens, even though you're shocked, you can like piece the puzzle together and go, oh, I see why he did there. But like this one, you just go like, how does this make sense? Like I can't wrap my head around it, you know? It just doesn't make sense.
Seems random.
Even the madness thing in the books, there's like some really good foreshadowing for that. Like you can definitely, I mean, now that I know that it happens, going back, you can definitely see it coming. Like there's one scene where she's walking through some grassland and she's literally imagining or like hearing the grass talk to her with Jorah's voice.
Yeah.
And there's like a few other scenes like that where she hears things or like sees things that you're not really sure if they are really there or not.
Yeah, I think the one of the foreshadowing moments in the TV show was the scene where she had a dream where she was walking towards the throne, but she never really reaches it. So I think that was like a scene to show that I don't think the throne was rightfully hers, or maybe she would have never got it, maybe. But this is like, I can't remember which episode, but whatever. That was what I remembered. And obviously the scenes where, you know, like she's very ruthless against all people who don't stand by her side, like the Talis who didn't bend the knee, and she just like had them like executed.
Yeah.
So we've seen scenes where, it's fathomable. But yeah, so I think I think we can go on all day about this, like all these like theories and so on. But I wanted y'all to give me a rating each on this season first, and then the whole story as a whole. So I'll just give mine. I think before this season started, it was at a 8.5 for me. This season, I give it like a 5 because of the action scenes, the budget they spent on like creating all these scenes, and then I give it like an 8 at the end overall because I still kind of like the story, because even though I had to do a lot of the storytelling in my head for the last season to go like, oh, it made sense, but just did it really early, but it's okay. I like the story, so it's an 8 for me. So Laura, what do you think?
I would agree with the 5 out of 10 rating for the last season if I remove all like anticipation or expectation of what it should have been. It was still pretty awesome to watch, and I agree. The action scenes were really cool, and it had some great moments. The fight between the Cleganes, that was hectic.
Oh, that was
and
awesome.
I like that. Yeah, it was gross, the eye squishing bit, but it was good. Yeah. And also when Jon stabs Dany, like that scene, I was very on the edge of my seat. So it had shining moments and it had bad parts. So I agree with the 5 out of 10. In terms of overall rating, I think it's probably still. I've never cared about a show more.
Yeah,
it's probably the best TV show like I've ever seen. So maybe it's a 10 overall.
Oh, perfect score.
Perfect score.
Perfect score. So far, I might reduce that if a show comes out in the future that tops it.
Well, HBO's new show Chernobyl seems quite promising.
Oh, okay.
Westworld is good. Watch Westworld. I like Westworld, but Westworld is a bit slow.
Westworld is good.
Yeah. Season 3, the trailer's out. Aaron Paul's in it. The guy from Breaking Bad.
Oh, Jesse?
Oh.
Yeah, Jesse.
Oh, nice.
Hey. Okay, Oscar, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I would probably say season 1 to 4 of Game of Thrones is probably my like favorite television ever made. That was just, I think that's a 10 out of 10 for me. After that, it starts going downhill, and up to season 8, I would probably give the whole thing maybe like an 8 out of 10 overall. Yeah. Season 8 by itself, I think I'd probably go even a little bit lower than you guys have said, maybe a 4 out of 10, and just because of like the music, the cinematography, and especially the acting. Like I thought the acting in this season, especially from Marla Clark, was like really, really, really good. She managed to, I think, actually kind of bring it up a little bit. Even like the scene where Dany goes mad, like I think she kind of sold that. Even though I think she said before that she doesn't really like it or agree with it. Yeah, she still managed to act it really well. Yeah. So because of all of those things, I think I would give season 8, like maybe a 4.5 out of 10. And then overall, I mean, it's still an amazing story, and the first 4 seasons were just like incredible. So I think I'd probably maybe like a 7.5 out of 10 overall. It's probably one of the best.
Same range.
One of the better shows.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The biggest moment in television history. It's got like so many people connected. Maybe it's because like everyone has a computer now. Yes, but still, like it's got the whole world talking. It's on news all the time. Like it's not just about the show. It's about how the show has changed the the realm for TV. So it's one of the biggest. It's definitely one of the biggest shows since Lost, or maybe even like Friends. I don't want to piss people off, but like I think like a show as big as Friends, if not bigger. Is it bigger than Friends?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Friends like more comedy. There's no like I mean Game of Thrones, you have to look at all the merchandise and stuff that they've done outside of television. Whereas I feel like Friends hasn't really expanded out.
The Legend, like the Friends isn't like I agree. Okay, biggest TV show. And I know why, Oscar, you like season. One of the reasons why it could be because season 1 to 4 was based off the book, and after season 4 onwards, it was all just based off the creators' consultations with George R. R. Martin. The creators are what is it? D.B.Weiss and David
Benioff.
Benioff. Yeah, but they botched it. They botched the last season.
I think also they actually had George R. R. Martin would write an episode per season before season 5. Yeah. And I read somewhere, I'm not sure if it's actually sort of confirmed or if it's more just a theory, that around that time was when they started making some decisions that he really didn't like. And sort of after that, like season 5 was when he sort of started saying things like, oh yeah, like the show is Weiss and Benioff's thing, like, I don't really have that much to do with it anymore. I just sort of consult with them a little bit on the story. That's their own thing, like separate from the books. But before that, he had been involved quite a lot more. Yeah. And like he said a few things in interviews where like he even said once that he doesn't even watch the show anymore. So, I think he kind of distanced himself from it.
That would be insane.
Yeah, he said.
I'm pretty sure that that's what I read. I have to try and find the article.
I reckon he'd sneakily watch it.
No, after the finale, he wrote a letter. He wrote a note to all the fans saying that the show has finally ended. I think he wrote a note. He wrote a note, and he was saying that the show has ended. I'll try to finish the next 2 books. He thanked the creators. Obviously, it could be just for publicity. That making it his source material. His story is one of the biggest stories around globally. But I remember him asking him, would your ending be the same as the TV show? He obviously gave the vague answer, yes and no, yes and no, and yes and no. So, because there are a lot of other characters in the books that aren't in the TV show, vice versa. So that's why I'm excited to read the books once they're all out. Just to get that that hopefully perfect execution that George R. R. Martin is known for.
Yeah. Maybe I'll start reading the books as well.
I'd recommend
he finishes them.
Do you think he would have wanted Bran as the king as well? That's my question.
No, I think so. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But George R. R. Martin said that, I think there was a hint somewhere. I remember, because I was trying to read theories why people think Bran would be king, And I read somewhere that George R.R. Martin actually gave a hint about that, saying that, Bran started this Game of Thrones. If you think about it, ever since he was pushed off the ledge, and they were saying that he's a very special character and has special things in mind. Like George R.R. Martin hinted like something like that. He hinted it, that, paraphrasing obviously, but like he gave like Bran a bit of special attention for some reason. But
yeah. I also read somewhere that Bran has a lot of parallels with, I think it was like an ancient Anglo-Saxon mythological kind of figure called the Fisher King. And George R.R. Martin is quite into like that early Anglo-Saxon history and stuff. And there was like a guy who called it in something like 2010 that Bran was supposed to represent this Fisher King figure who sort of became like a mystical, like all-knowing ruler of ancient Britain, and that's what he was supposed to represent, and that's what he was slowly evolving into. And George R.R. Martin has said in an interview that there was one or two theories that actually did literally call who was going to be in charge at the end, and people are now saying, well, it must be that guy.
Yeah.
What do you think of like Game of Thrones being quite like I think that they're quite meta if you think about it. Like they let it's quite like diverse, female empowerment in the sense of like a lot of female leaders. That like I think like someone told me that they should have killed Grey, like in the story sense they should like logically they should have killed Grey Worm, right? Because Grey Worm's gone batshit crazy ever since Missandei's death. So you should kill him off, but they decided not to kill him off because he's the only character of color left in Game of Thrones. I mean that's what they were saying. So I mean like, and also like when it came to like if you think about it, Game of Thrones, it's like you think about like the past ruling over the last few seasons were like people of authoritarian like kind of like style ruling, and finally when it came to the end, it's more. I'm not saying it's 100% democratic, but it's like more, council based rather than the old authoritarian kind of ruling. It's a bit more like China. I thought it was going to be like democracy. Then when Samuel Tully say, everyone should vote, everyone just laughed it off. So they started doing like a more of a council thing, just like China. Like just say, yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool. I think that was it. I think now we can move on to the bit. Do any of y'all have anything else to talk about? Like any questions you want to ask us? Each other? No?
I have a question about Arya Stark and how she's able to appear out of nowhere throughout this whole season, because that's what she's done.
She's the god of death.
I guess that's the only reference they make to they make to her faceless man skills. Because apart from that, she hasn't used that at all.
Yeah.
I hope she would steal a face this season.
Yeah, I thought that's what it meant. Like you have to, like someone needs to physically be there, like another person, for her to like swap faces with them. But then she just sort of appears out of nowhere, even if there's no people around.
I guess that's her using her general ninja skills.
Yeah.
But like they keep bringing up, different prophecies all the time. You know how like some prophecies were kind of fulfilled. Like apparently Cersei was supposed to die under like her brother's arm, like or something. Like the brother was gonna like Jaime was gonna kill her. He didn't really kill her, but he died with her. So it's like semi-fulfilled. But then when it came to the Arya Stark one, a lot of people complained, she was supposed to take like a Brown Eyes life, a Blue Eyes life, which was the Night King. The Brown Eyes was like basically everyone else, and then a Green Eyes, which was like everyone. I thought it was Cersei, but obviously she decided against it. So I thought it was it Daenerys, but it didn't happen. But I think what the show tried to do was, the bit when she went up to the Red Keep with Clegane, and Clegane said, "You shouldn't move up. Like you shouldn't. If you come here with me, you're not going back." And then she decided to go back. So that means I think that scene was trying to signal that she's done. She's done with this, god of death type of life. Maybe. What do you think, Oscar?
Man, I don't know. Like, I mean, she went through so much to get those faceless man skills, and I mean, she essentially had become like this emotionalist kind of killing machine, but she just didn't utilize that at all this season. And yeah, I mean, like, it's cool that she turned away from that and decided to live. But I also don't really feel like that fits with her character at all. And it was just kind of almost shoehorned in there. I feel like in the books, maybe she will die. But I feel like a lot of people in the books might die much earlier. I think Cersei in the books is going to die maybe in the next book. And at the point we get to in season 8, I don't think she would even be there in charge of King's Landing. I think mainly one of the reasons she survived as long as she did in the show is just because her actress, whose name I can't remember, is just amazing, like a really good actress.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so the Arya Stark thing, it was okay.
You sound really sad, Oscar, when you talk about it.
I just don't feel like it fit with her character. It was kind of out of the blue.
It was pretty random. A lot of things in this season were just random. It's like, oh, okay.
Don't you find it weird that after that, like, okay, I want to go travel the world now, you know? Like,
yeah. I'm going to go become a colonizer.
Yeah.
I'm going to go bring smallpox to the whatever's west of Westeros.
Yeah. Africa, right? West of like the west of central part of the world is usually Africa, or the middle. Yeah.
I thought Africa, the Africa equivalent of this universe was
Essos.
I've forgotten.
Essos.
Yeah,
Essos?
Doesn't
where the Dothraki are from.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we should just hit the other side of that continent.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah. Asia. Maybe we should reach into Asia.
Yeah.
Maybe west of Africa. It's like because like it's a globe, right? Unless you all believe in the flat Earth theory. Like, do any of you believe the Earth is flat? Yeah, it's okay. I mean, like if you think it's debatable, it could be debatable. I don't know. But,
yeah, I'm not to say on this podcast, Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For another time.
Yeah, so I think we've talked about enough about this season and everything. I think like to close it out, let's just talk about like, you know, who's everyone's like favorite character maybe, and character that they hate. Just name a few, and like if it's someone you really like, you can give a reason why. And before that, like, what's everyone's favorite moment this season, and what's everyone's like moment they hate the most? And I can go first. Like, the moment I thought the most emotionally provoking moment for me was when Tyrion went to Jaime and released him and told him that like if it weren't for you, like I would be dead by now. And then I thought that moment was very emotional. It made me tear up a little bit.
That was very genuine.
Yeah, that was so sad. Like, you know the thing about Tyrion, despite all his family always hating on him, he always loved his family.
He always loved them back.
Yeah, even though he killed his dad like in the toilet, he still was like upset that he killed his dad. Like, yeah. I think the one I disliked the most was like probably the scene. I actually didn't like the moment when Jon had to kill Daenerys because it was like, what? It took you so long, and the way you kill her was like in such a like dishonorable way. Okay, but that's my thoughts. Yeah. Okay.
He was like sort of
Yeah, it was cheap. It was like a cheap way of like getting rid of someone, right?
Yeah.
I thought Theon Greyjoy had like a better death than like Daenerys. I didn't mind. I didn't. You know, I didn't mind that the way the Lannisters went, because I'm quite forgiving to Cersei a little bit, because what she did was, I mean, yeah, obviously she's a bit power hungry and vengeful, but at the end of the day, she loved her kids. You know what I mean? Like, she did it all for like her kids and her family. So and at the end, when like where she was saying like, you know, I'm scared to die and stuff, dying under her brother's arm, I thought that was a bit like, I thought that was quite sad. I thought it kind of humanized her a little. But okay, I'll move on. That's my bit. Laura, you wanna go?
Yeah, I think my favorite moment was the Clegane fight. I don't know why, I just really loved that scene. Least favorite moment of the season. It was probably the swift cut from Jon stabbing Dany to the 5 weeks later, and everyone's just there. that was too quick.
Yeah, so what's happening now? Like, the scene didn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like Laura's the moment where her most her least favorite moment sounds like an experience in a Chinese restaurant after you finish eating, you're being ushered out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that kind of
You go.
Oscar, what about you?
My least favorite moment was like much of a smaller moment than what you guys have talked about. It was literally when Sam, essentially like in that like council meeting at the end, he basically looked at the camera talking about that book that he'd written and said it's called A Song of Ice and Fire.
Oh shit! Yeah,
I like that. Literally, I was watching it with a bunch of Brooks med friends at one of their houses, and I didn't even realize, but one of the guys was like saying afterwards, "Oh, you like audibly cringed when that when that happened."
I didn't even realize. I need to rewatch the scene. Was he actually?
Yeah, no, it was terrible. I mean, like he sort of did. He sort of looked at the camera and said that. I was like half expecting him to like moonwalk off the like out of the camera shot after he said that. Then it just ends. Or Tyrion also looks at the camera and says, "Yes, it truly was a Game of Thrones," and then that's the end. But I think my favorite moment from the season would have to be just that fireside scene. I mean, when Podrick was just singing and they were all like sitting around the fire, enjoying their last moments before they thought they were all going to die. And like at that time watching that, you thought that, maybe half of them would die in the next episode. I mean, that didn't happen, but it kind of really gave that impression that we were like it was sort of like a goodbye to some of those characters that, we've been watching for so long. And I feel like maybe the writers were too scared to actually go through with that.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like a bit of fan service, just trying to keep everyone alive.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I think you hit it right on the nail. I think they aren't as ruthless as George R. Martin, right? It felt like it, right? It felt like they aren't as ruthless as George R. Martin. What about you, Bernie?
I actually agree with Oscar because I don't think there were that many highlights in the season, but then that scene when they were all together, it was just kind of nice. And Oscar, you were saying like you sort of expect half of them to die.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, but I feel like even if like they all died, it'd sort of be like that was a nice send off to all the characters because like they're all really like kind to each other as well. So it's good to see that connection between all the characters. So I enjoyed that.
This season had a lot of unity. If you think about it, a lot of people who weren't really friends with each other, not friends, but like. It was just like a lot of unity, right? A lot of characters from like, you could say different paths from the start of the season to end up on like just essentially split into two sides, right? Before there were way many more sides. And now they're split into two factions, right? Two distinct factions. Cersei and Daenerys. So yeah, I think it was interesting to see. I really like Jaime as well. I think Jaime did. I like Jaime's character in this season. But okay,
really?
Let's move. What do you think of Jaime like going back to Cersei in the very like the last thing? That's the last thing he did, right?
I think that's very true to his character, right? Like he went over to fight for humankind, and then after he did that, he realizes that the Daenerys is going for the sister's head, and he loves Daenerys, so it made a lot of sense. I think for Jaime character is not hard to write, right? You think about it. He's like a big asshole at the start of the series, but then when he got his hand chopped off and saved by Brienne, he became like a nicer dude, more humble because he lost his arm. Yeah,
I sort of felt like all of that was building towards him realizing that he could be like his own person and that he didn't need Cersei, and that he. Yeah, like it was building towards him because he was at the start of the series just kind of like an arrogant dickhead who, I mean, like he always loved his family, but he didn't love anybody else. And I mean, like the one thing that annoyed me the most about Jaime's character development is like all of that character development earlier about how everything that he had done as the Kingslayer was to save the population of King's Landing. Yeah. And then when Tyrion was freeing him because he wanted to try and save all of these lives in King's Landing, Jaime just like makes this throwaway remark like, "Oh, I never really cared about the innocents that much." Well, like, why the fuck did you kill the king then? That you've literally said many times before that the only reason you did that was to save these people. It just felt so lazy. But I do agree. I think I agree with you that I guess Jaime could have gone either way, and they'd kind of been building him up to a kind of ambiguous destination, and you weren't really sure which way he was going to go.
Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot. Like, shall we just head into like who are like our favorite characters, and who are the most annoying characters for you? Favorite moments throughout the series, and I think that's it. Enough negativity. Let's just leave out the most moments.
I think the most iconic character of this whole show was Joffrey.
Yeah.
He was. I've never felt so much anger towards like a boy.
Yeah. Shout out to Jeff. He's
Yeah.
pretty awesome actor.
Yeah. Oh, he played him so well. I like spent a lot of time not watching the show, like thinking about how much I hated him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joffrey was
True. What about Cersei? Surely Cersei is up there as well, right?
I feel like in maybe like the first few seasons, she had a bit more character, I think, and then maybe also because you don't really see her that much in the later seasons, or this season and last season. And she sort of just seemed more one-sided.
Well, yeah. I think like when it came to like favorite characters, doesn't mean you have to like them, but like it could be like they're very important to the story. So what about, okay, fine, continue, Laura. Like, so Joffrey is the most iconic. What about your least favorite character? Or is he both?
He's both. He's a love-hate. Favorite in the sense that he was so unique, but also least favorite from who I'd be friends with.
Fair enough. What about iconic moment of the host? Like throughout the whole series, what was the moment that like got you like, whoa, this is like top television right there?
It's got to be the red wedding. I know that's probably
Mine's the
cliche,
same.
but yeah, I still remember exactly where I was, even when I was eating it when that happened.
Oh shit! You're eating, is it? While watching it?
I was eating a Zen hamburger from Grilled, and I could not bring myself to order one of those again for a long time.
Wow. Oski?
As an iconic moment, I think I had this exact same sort of feelings Laura had, but for that moment where like the Tower of Joy scene, end of season 6, where Ned finds Lyanna, and it sort of cuts, like that Stark theme starts underneath it, the Stark family music, and then it just like cuts to Jon's face.
Yes.
Like from the baby's face. That was incredible, that scene. Like, and I'd been sort of hoping that theory was true for so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
then it was finally confirmed.
Yeah, that was a good feeling.
Don't you think like the series is set up to make him king? Like that's like a king kind, and him killing.
Yeah.
Then they went like totally did a hard left turn and go, no guys, Bran Stark.
I feel like some of the reasons they did that was just to subvert, expectations, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, what about your least favorite character?
Least favorite character? That's pretty hard. I feel like in the last season, just taking the last season alone, Jon Snow probably became my least favorite character, and he probably was my favorite character for the entire series before then. But they just sort of slaughtered his character, and he was just kind of this idiot who had 3 lines, like you're my queen, she's my queen, I don't want it.
I love her. Fucking yeah. What about
series overall, I don't really know if I had a particular character that I ever hated. Joffrey was someone that made me angry and disgusted, but I don't know if there was anyone that I found really annoying or terribly written.
Yeah.
Okay, Bernard, you want to take a poke?
Least favorite character, I think one of them would be probably Ramsay Bolton.
Yes. Yeah.
Just because he was very violent.
Oh God, I forgot about him. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Your
repressed memories of him ever existing.
Too
traumatic.
Yeah. When he died, it felt good when he died. So I guess he's my least favorite.
What about iconic moments?
Iconic moments.
Or like the moments that you're like, oh shit, this is my favorite moment of Game of Thrones, and your favorite character as well.
Well, I thought when they were trying to show the like the three-eyed raven with like all the kids running around, I wasn't sure what that was, but that was a pretty cool moment. I just hope they like went into further detail, but they didn't really. Do you know what scene I'm talking?
Yeah, I know which scene you're talking about. It kind of made you wonder, right? Like, so wait, can like Bran time travel? Like, he uses lines like, "Why would I travel all the way up here then?" Or like, "You're right where you're supposed to be." I'm like, wait, so you saw the future?
Yeah.
But now, didn't it sound like a bit like Avengers? Didn't he sound like a bit like Doctor Strange, where he saw like the future and like this is what had to happen. This is what had to happen for us to get here today. It sounded like it, which was like a bit annoying.
He already knows,
Yeah. So, okay, I think for me, my favorite character was. Oh, I think it's tough because it's between the Stark children. In a sense, it's between Arya, Sansa, and Jon. But I think I lean towards Jon because I like it that like from season 1 to 7 onwards, he always did what was right. Even though it cost him his life, he always stood by what was right. Was never power hungry, and so on. With like a bit like Ned, right? Just very noble. So I think Jon's my favorite character. My least favorite, I think, who is that? I think Stannis Baratheon is the most annoying character. Not that he's important, but like I just go like I just found Euron Greyjoy. Like sometimes I feel like these characters shouldn't.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I forgot about Euron. Definitely my least favorite character. I completely forgot about him. Yeah, they slaughtered him. Like in the books, he's like this really like he's like kind of like a psychopath, and he's like this really dark, like mysterious character, and he's been to like old Valyria and been all over like those far lands that they don't really cover in the show, but and he has like this crew of people that he's cut out all their tongues, and like he's got this horn that whenever the person who blows the horn, it's supposed to be able to like bind a dragon to the person who blows the horn, like bind it to their will, but whoever blows it dies, like it burns their insides out. And he's just this really dark sort of forbidding character, and then in the show they just made him like a drunk pirate.
So like I think he's like a shit character. I think like the Joffrey was cool in terms of his cruelty, but every time he talked, I found him annoying as hell. Ramsay was cool, like kind of cool, but just like also annoying. I don't know why, but just how some evil characters you go like, wow, that's like cool. Like for example, the Joker and like Batman. I thought he was like a even though he's like evil, you want to see more scenes of him talking, right? But like Joffrey was just like less talking, more doing, or just die off already. I don't really care because I found them just annoying when they talk. Because like both of them were like sounded like spoiled children, right? They both essentially were. So yeah, okay, that's my take. My favorite moment was the same like Laura, the Red Wedding. I think that was that's the most iconic moment in Game of Thrones, next to when Jon Snow got stabbed, but they brought him back again straight away in the next episode. But yeah, that was the most iconic. Those two were the most iconic moments in my head for Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
and I think that's it. Do any of you want to talk about anything else, or shall we continue on with our lives?
Guess it's time to pick up the pieces and start living a Game of Thrones free life. It's going to be weird.
True.
Although I'm thinking of rewatching them all. Yeah, true. I can't wait for the books. Maybe like when like in 10 years when the books are out and if we're like still talking to each other back.
We'll show the kids. Definitely show the kids.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a conspiracy theory for you all. I think that George R.R. Martin has actually secretly finished the books, but he saw where the show was going and he knew that there were going to be a bunch of people that are really unhappy with the ending. So now he can just be like, ready for Christmas. He can just be like, well, guys, Winds of Winter's actually been going really well. I'm going to release it Christmas this year. And then he'll like smash every book sales record ever and have the next one ready to go like next year. And he will deliver an ending to the series that everyone will be really happy with.
He's a
I hope.
genius.
Okay, I hope that's true also.
Yeah, it's probably
I
not,
think
but
could write. Yeah, I think you could write the same exact plot and still make everyone happy. But it's just
oh yeah,
you guys are
just done
like,
better.
trash. They're just trash. No offense, but yeah. Okay, I guess thanks guys for helping me like with this episode. Thanks. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. It's great talking to all of you.
Thanks for having us. It felt quite therapeutic to talk it through.
Yeah, it was good.
All right, thanks for being part of the Free Folk Talk. And I think, yeah, it's the end. I think hopefully there's a new TV show that comes into like all our lives together and talk about it. So, all right, thanks. Bye.
Thanks, man.
Alrighty. Thanks.
See you, man. Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.